Hi, welcome to 5-Minute Finds, where we share something on Ancestry.com in less than 5 minutes. I'm Juliana Smith, and today I want to help you to decide, should I take that hint? We all love diving into our online tree and finding those shaky leaves that tell us that Ancestry.com has a hint for us. Ancestry's put a lot of work into that technology that tells us when it's found a record match in its collections. But ultimately, you're the expert on your family, so you're the one that's going to want to determine whether the record that we're hinting to you is actually belongs in your family tree. So let's take a look at the records for Albert McKee. The nice thing about clicking through that link is that it gives us a little bit of a pane of reference up here. This pane is bringing in records from the online tree that I've created for Albert. So I can compare it with the details that are in the records found below. You can see here that I've got a birth date of 1856 in Indiana for Albert, and his parents, unfortunately, I don't know. I also don't know of any siblings or any other type of family members, so I don't really have a family structure to work with. So taking Albert from the 20th century records that I have for him back into the 19th century is a little bit of a challenge for me. Down here, though, you can see that I do have a hint for an 1860 federal census record. Everything that I see so far matches up. There's an Albert McGee, born 1856 in Indiana. I don't know a location that he's from at this point, so I'm not quite sure whether I want to attach this record to my tree. We have to bear in mind that there may be other Albert McKees. McKee could be a very common name in Indiana at this time, so I want to be extra certain. One of the nice things about hints is that it'll wait for me. Even if I don't choose to accept this hint right now, it'll still be here when I come back next time. Or if I want to, I could choose to ignore this hint, in which case it would be put into this little bucket here. So I can click on this tab if I ever want to see any ignored hints I have for Albert. And if I determine later on that there's something that actually does apply to him, I can go back in and bring that out of the bin. So I'm going to go back to my tree for Albert. As you can see, I have hints for a lot of the other family members here. In fact, there are 8 hints for Florence alone, his daughter Florence. Let's take a look at one of the records that was hinted on Florence. I may have some more evidence to help me on this case. This is from the Illinois Deaths and Stillbirths Index. You can see that it includes some really great biographical information that makes me sure that I have the right Florence. But what's more, it also gives me some details about her parents. It gives both her mother and father's birthplace and names. A.L. McKee matches up with Albert, and now you can see that his birthplace listed here is Rochester, Indiana. To review, that 1860 census record also was for Rochester, Fulton County, Indiana, and at this time Albert would have been only about 4 years old. So there's a good chance now that I have the right guy. This is some additional evidence for me. So a few things to consider before you attach a record. Compare it with what you know from the other records, the things that you've put in your tree, and maybe even some things that you don't have in your tree at the time. Check the records and hints of other family members like we did with that record for Florence. There may be clues in the hints of other family members. Always click through to view the entire record. There are a lot of details that sometimes aren't picked up in the indexes that will show up in the actual record. So go in and pick every little clue out of each record and enter it into your tree to make sure that those details can now feed for more hints. And try some census records or searches for the places where your ancestor lived. Get familiar with the people in the neighborhoods. If there are people that have similar surnames and similar given names as your ancestor and who maybe were born around the same time, make a note of them. This will make it easier for you to distinguish, and it kind of serve as a warning that when you go to attach a record, there's someone else that this may belong to. Best of luck with your searches. Go on and explore some hints. You never know what treasures are waiting there for you.